Charlie, are you aware of how popular our interview with you became?
You know, when I go into work and I see one of the top CEOs of an oil and gas firm has more money than he knows what to do with, more planes, trains, and automobiles than he could possibly venture, yet he's absolutely miserable. I'm excited to go to work. I look forward to going to work. Not every day is rainbows and butterflies. You know, I lost I lost one of my operating partners at one of my salons. You know, when you say you're learning a lot, you learn who people are and really what their intentions are whenever their back is against the wall. When we lost my operating partner and I looked around the room and I really felt, wow, that there was one person holding everybody in this room back, and it was that person.
How are you looking at 2024? How are you feeling about the future? And what are you doing to sort of balance instinct and maybe like the sort of the more the planning numbers side of that business ownership? Welcome to The Millionaire Hairstylist, where our focus, our mission, is to improve the financial well-being of creative professionals. And our guest today is a return, a part two, a sequel, the Empire Strikes Back episode of the most controversial, most discussed, most enjoyed episode and guest in the history of this podcast. It is none other than Charlie Price, the owner and founder of Charlie & Co Salons in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. Charlie is at the top of salons in that industry, and he comes from a long background, a long track record of being a celebrity hairstylist. And if you didn't listen to our first episode with him, go back in the feed. In fact, maybe we'll repost it now. Go listen to our interview with Charlie, and you'll see why he was such a firebrand of conversation. And then join us today to hear why Charlie's last 2 years since we talked to him have not been all sunshine and roses, what challenges he has faced. I think you'll find things to relate to if you're a business owner, what he's looking forward to in 2024, and the changes and improvements and adjustments he is making to counteract economic uncertainty, and much, much more. You don't want to miss this. It's Charlie Price here on The Millionaire Hairstylist. Let's go. What are you reading right now? Are you reading anything interesting in your library?
Interesting. Yes, I am. Probably one of the best books I've read this year, A Ride of a Lifetime.
Oh, that's by a big CEO.
Come on, Cash.
Disney.
Cash.
Oh, God.
You don't have to get his name.
I'm blanking on his name.
His name doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant.
Iker. Bob Iker.
Yes, it is. Wow. It is the story of Bob Iger's tenure at his first 30 years with Disney, and it's just fucking mind blowing. It's such a cool book. Yeah, really cool story.
I've got it in the queue. I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Charlie, are you aware of how popular our interview with you became?
I want to answer that yes. I don't know if I've ever gotten as much mail, direct DMs.
Did you really?
Yeah, I got a lot, and not all good.
Oh, tell us more.
Yeah, majority. I would say majority not good.
Really?
That's
yeah. It just it really just segued into my commentary on the rental and leasing market, and
yes.
I'm sure that ruffled some feathers, but I guess if you listen to the entirety of the podcast, there was a reason I brought that up, and the reason that it was talked about. But yeah, there was some, but yeah, I did. I got a lot of good response.
I recently re-listened to the whole interview as doing my homework, and you said, and I quote, "Having a chair rental is like putting a tombstone over your career," I think is the way you expressed it.
Yeah, carrying your own gravestone into work.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sorry to hear that gendered some vitriol for you. Did that change your views at all? Are you holding your ground?
It's an opinion, and it's mine, and I'm entitled to it.
Yes, you are.
So you like it? Great. You don't like it? Off.
Ariana,
great. Get ready for more DMs. That's really.
Yeah. No. I mean, nothing's really changed from it. I think it opened my eyes a lot more, but I think really in the preface, and nor would I counteract anything that I said, it was just, what my experience as a hairdresser and what I believe for me, if you want what I have to offer, then you have to do what I did to get it.
Yeah. 100%.
And, working in my library here, would never have gotten me to where I am today. So,
Yeah. No, that's
incredible.
That's completely fair. But again, it's fun to point out the controversy. And Cash is so convinced, by the way, Charlie, that we need more controversy on our podcast. So I'm sure he's delighted that happened. But aside from that, I will say we got so much positive response. Like overwhelmingly, people were so inspired by what you had to share. And to this day, we still hear that from our students. So thank you for coming.
Good.
It's really good to see you.
Oh my God, it's a pleasure and an honor. You guys are doing something so smart, and it's fun to be a part of something smart. It's really nice to be a part of it.
Well, you know what?
What's changed in the last? Go ahead, Cash. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think Charlie actually got an employee from that podcast.
I would be surprised if we got several from that podcast. I mean, at least planted the seed within beauty school students that listened.
There was a girl that I met. It might have been in a conference, at a conference I was speaking at. I believe it was a conference I was speaking at. She came up to me and she was like, I work at Charlie & Co. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. She's like, I went there. I moved from Oklahoma or something like this. I forget which state it was, to go work for him. And because of your podcast, I was like, what the?
I remember this. I remember this vividly, Cash, and I'm trying to remember who that person is. And you would say, well, Charlie, that's pretty easy. It's somebody that moved. We've had 7 girls this year move from out of state to work with us. So I can't really round them up. But yeah, I mean, there was great feedback from that podcast.
I'm glad.
That's awesome. For anybody that hasn't listened to it, you can go back in the archives. It's one of the earlier episodes. I believe it's titled How to Run a Successful Salon. Jordan, you know the title.
Yeah, Secrets of Hyper. What we might do is just republish it in the feed in conjunction with this follow-up. Maybe that'll be the smartest way to work the algorithm. But either way, Charlie, I mean, I think, so not only do people really respond to, I'll just overview, because I listened to it most recently for the two of you, we talked about making instinctual decisions about business. And I'm going to touch on that in a little bit, because it was really fascinating how much of the decisions you made as a business owner, were just so back of tablecloth, back of napkin math, gut decisions, culture decisions that were feeling decisions, and like staring in the mirror decisions. And it's the hardest thing to syndicate or to replicate, because that's a decision you made as an individual based on your gut. But it's so inspiring to consider that like success really can be about following your heart almost. Is that something, would you agree with that statement?
Yes and no. Yes, in a sense of, there's, now since we've done this, I'm now a parent, and I have a 15-month-old son, and I think of something that Chris Rock said on his stand-up Bigger and Blacker, and it was his goal and his job as a parent was to diminish dreams. That there's nobody in my family over 5'4", so guess what? You're probably not going to be the next all-time great NBA center. And that's okay. Right. Nobody in my family graduated college, so there's a pretty good chance I'm not going to be an astronaut. Right. But with that being said, it's I took it for granted for a long time doing something that I love to do. And it wasn't until that I realized that not only do I love what I do, but I get paid well to do it. And every day is a new day. And I define success, and that is my success story. It doesn't come with commas and zeros and things and monetary items. It comes with waking up every day and, I'm excited to go to work. I look forward to going to work. Not every day is rainbows and butterflies. But, when I go into work and I see one of the top CEOs of an oil and gas firm that has more money than he knows what to do with, more planes, trains, and automobiles than he could possibly venture, yet he's absolutely miserable. Mm-hmm. And, so it's always apparent that just because I'm passionate doesn't always mean that things are just going to fall in line. There's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of mistakes that need to be learned from, and a lot of putting one foot in front of the other to persevere through that and to get to the other side. And the other side is, hey, I love what I do for a living.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's been 2 years, Charlie, since we talked to you. And,
Mighty.
I know, isn't that crazy? I thought it was a year. And
Yeah,
I actually
I
looked at
would
the
say
calendar,
the same.
and it was September of 2021. And, it's crazy because COVID hit in 2020 and everything crashed. And then 2021, there was just an exuberance of money flowing into the world from the Federal Reserve and everything that was happening. Property prices skyrocketing. It's a very different time now. I'm curious, how have things changed, if at all, for Charlie and Co. in this 2 years since we saw you last?
I would like to say very little, but it was just my perspective of time has completely changed. Like if you would have said that was, that our podcast was 6 months ago, I would say, yeah, it was 6 months ago. Really, the only staple that I have to that is I didn't have a son whenever we did this the last time. And, I wouldn't say very much changed, but a lot of that is geographically of where I'm insulated in Texas. So
it's a good perspective.
Yeah, so painting a much clearer picture to the words that I just said, it's, our salons were closed for 2 months. We were closed for 9 weeks. We completely closed for 9 weeks. And then we reopened slowly, and then we just let the floodgates open. So if there was any change, it was those 2 months that we were closed and getting a perspective of what else was happening in the world, learning how fortunate we were to be in Texas, where, people wanted to get back to work. People wanted to open small business. But yet from the business end of it, I was granted all this income because we were essentially closed, or we weren't allowed to be open. So both of the salons were fueled all this free money, like just here, take it.
And through the PPP loans?
Through the PPP loans. Now, granted, they weren't free. The work, the bookkeeping efforts, the financial efforts that we had to maintain to capitalize on receiving those funds.
Right.
Yes, but those funds were exactly what they were. They paid our employees while we didn't work. It's not like it paid for a down payment for Charlie's house.
Right. We did the same thing.
Yeah. And then when it came to, the other rounds of funding, it was just, oh, you're going to give me, $200,000 at 3% interest. And oh, by the way, that interest isn't going to kick in for 30 years and you have 50 years to pay it up. Yeah, I'm never going to get that type of money again.
Yeah. Dirt cheap money. Yes.
Was that a Texas thing or was that a federal thing?
That was a federal thing.
Federal.
I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, that was a federal thing. And they granted all these EDILs is what they were. And then, so it was part of that thing. But then a lot of that came from just caution as well. All right, let's take this money and then we'll figure out what to do with it later. And I remember working with my business manager and my CPA, and they were like, just know that this is the most expensive check you're going to cash, and not being myself, but the world's most expensive check,
what it represents.
And it sure enough was.
Yeah.
So, through that course of that time, I learned a lot, but it was more just a safety net, as we started operating and we kept being open through, different spikes of COVID and this, that, and the other. We maintained being open and business went through the roof. So we then just wrote that check right back to the SBA, gave them back that money and was like, we can't use it. I mean, we couldn't find responsible ways to use it. So, and then I just didn't want that hanging over my head either. But outside of COVID, I think the biggest change is probably work ethic within the environment. Work ethic between, we see it on a corporate level of people, wanting to stay at home and not wanting to go back to the office. And still today, people are, not wanting to go back to the office. But in our rooms, we've lost some hairdressers in the light of COVID, because I think people really found out a lot of perspective about the time that they had and how they wanted to utilize that time. And, was it that I need to work and grind and hustle and, nonstop go-getter mentality that maybe was had, that may have diminished throughout the first year and a half, 2 years, because they remember, wow, those couple months during COVID were pretty nice, But then the ones whose eyes were wide open noticed, how many hairdressers that we were hosting in Dallas from New York and LA, close friends of ours that just, they in LA, they were, had the opportunity to go cut hair out by the dumpster of the salon, so we just opened our house to them, and they witnessed how hard it was for those hairdressers to come back. It definitely brought up the freelance mentality, the gig economy. Everybody wants to have a side hustle, doing something, moving and shaking, and then realizing, wait, I don't have to do what I was doing. Or I don't have to do what I didn't like doing prior to this anymore, because now I can make an income doing, exactly what I want to do, whether or not that was hairdressing, whether or not that was, being a financial planner, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
So how it affected us and where we're at today is a little bit of the downfall with the team. Some of the team decided to take a different approach and go kind of do their own thing, be independent contractor, freelance artists, and just kind of house calls here and there. But then then the light was shed on our room and our culture as well. The people that wanted to be there and wanted to work. And it was right back to the culture that we've always intended and we've had.
That's amazing. I actually went through a similar thing very recently. I wouldn't call it a mass firing, but there was certainly a sweep in the business of uncultural alignment. And when we stepped back and took a dive into the business and took a dive into the numbers, we'd realized there were people on the team that shouldn't be from a values perspective, obviously from a performance perspective as well. And I think this season made a huge shift in our businesses as well, as far as the personnel. And I cannot tell you how excited and clean and happy, there's a massive vibe difference in the offices, in our warehouses, massive vibe difference. Did you notice a change in your business from like the energy in the room, after a little bit of a clean out?
Yes. I think it's hard to argue that you wouldn't. You just hope that effect is a positive one, and it's not, well, and man, this must be a sinking ship, I'm going to jump too. I think it puts a lot of trust in mentorship and leadership of, righting the ship, knowing where you're going. I lost there was just, I'll go ahead and say it. I lost one of my operating partners at one of my salons. And, when you say you're learning a lot, you learn who people are and really what their intentions are whenever their back is against the wall. Mm-hmm. And, we lost her. And then all of a sudden it was just, kind of like all eyes were on Charlie. Like, what's he going to do here? How's this going to go? And I like to think that I react cool, calm, and collect before anger, rash, before I just, flip the switch. Mm-hmm. And when we lost my operating partner, I then came in to that room maybe a week or two after that. And I looked around the room and I really felt, wow, that there was one person holding everybody in this room back, and it was that person. Wow. And for all that time, I put that person on a pedestal. I put that person on a level and just, she does no wrong. She quits. What am I going to do? How will I ever move on? 2 weeks later, I'm like, man, the problem is gone. The problem was with this one person. She's gone. I think people in our culture, in our salons, rally upon one another. If one person's going through something, there's 3 people there that are going to lift you up. Mm-hmm. That's what I love about a collaborative space and a collaborative room, as opposed to kind of every man for himself, is because you really see when times get tough, a lot of teammates just come in and put their hands underneath you. So very much positive, but it didn't happen right away. It was a lot of me taking a step back and observing and watching, how is this going to play out before, Charlie comes in and just starts reacting to the situation. So I knew I prayed that it would be a positive one, and it was. And you know what, Cash? It's usually a positive one. It's hard to see that in that moment, where it's like, oh man, all the walls are closing in against me. But, from the outside looking in, you got nothing but space to grow. So it was very positive.
How has that shaped your opinions or approach to partnership in the future? Because I know you're still a person of scale. You're still a person of ambition. I mean, you don't get to where you are without some degree of clarity on where your businesses are going. What does that look like for you in the future, having learned what you've learned?
We had legalized everything. Was there was non-compete. There was a non-compete a mile long. There was all the legalities that I could put into play to protect myself. But what I'm learning more and more about people is, if they want to fuck you, they're gonna fuck you. And I'm not surprised anymore. I had two hairdressers that had been with me one for 7 years, another for 8 years. And I went on a trip to Italy in May, and I get a text message, and they told me that they were quitting. This has
very classy.
This has happened more frequently as of lately than I would like.
What specifically? Somebody leaving, or someone like texting you that they're leaving?
I call it quitting shittily.
Where has the class gone these days?
Okay, I'm gonna a quick timeout. Let me just point something out. This is important.
Okay,
Charlie, I think it's important to understand that on the other side of this conversation are the students and the community that we talk to, and everybody has gone through in the last 2 years very similar struggles.
Of course.
Everybody is dealing with people that are leaving, partnerships that didn't work out, clients that are spending less money, whatever. So you mentioned, when I asked how things are going, Dallas is insular, wealthy people. You're a high-end salon. The high-end salon of the area. So are the wealthy people spending less in their hair? No, you're okay. But business is tough, and these things are happening. So I only call that out to say, I know there are people who are listening to this that are breathing a sigh of relief to a certain extent, because it's like, okay, even the best, even the people that are killing the game go through these moments where it's like, oh, what is going on? So please continue. But I'm so pleased that, it's like we're all in this together. Everyone goes through this stuff. Like, this happens in every business. It's not, there's no path that's going to lead to nope, never had any problems with that. It just doesn't happen.
But you'd be surprised how many people feel like they're the only person going through this right now, as they look around on social media and no one's talking about this stuff. No one's talking about that. There's a major economic shift, and businesses are being affected in ways. Psychology is being affected in ways. People want different things and are gaining clarity, or they're not getting clarity. They're getting distracted, seeking different things, because the last 2 years have been a major cultural workplace shift. And I think everyone's sort of like, oh, I'm the only person struggling with recruiting, or I'm the only person struggling with employee retention. And it's like, no. We talk to hundreds of business owners, and we're like, this is a common threat. Common threat.
Right. Very much so.
Okay. So shitting quittily.
Shitting quittily?
Shitting quietly.
That's a whole nother. You need to see a doctor for that, I'm afraid. We can't help you here on this podcast with shitting quittily.
People don't want to work anymore. People really want things handed to them more than ever. They want to walk in, assist for 2 or 3 months, have a book of business, leave the book of business, and start their own. They want to go on tour. They want to that's a thing now, where hairdressers are now musicians.
Oh, because they're getting customers nationally, and so they're hopping around servicing.
Correct. They're just bouncing around, and That's great. And it's just not something that's sustainable. I mean, I don't care whether you're a hairdresser that's starting today or you are a hairdresser that started 50 years ago or you started 21 years ago when I did. We're in the relationship business. Mm-hmm. And if your roof changes every time you see somebody, you're not building a consistent relationship. Yeah. And the ones that become very successful, the ones that have a lot more zeros attached to their yearly, quarterly income, those are the ones that are continuing to stay the course. Yes, I don't like this paint color, but this is the one that makes me money. I don't love these chairs, but you know what? The other ones aren't that great either. The biggest component with that is, people just want different things right now. And, mm-hmm. But also this old dog wants different things. So this old dog needs to learn some new tricks as well. Getting an idea of what people want. What are you looking for? Where the go-getter works 7 days a week, work 12-hour days, take double bookings 5 days a week. Yeah, a lot of people just don't want that anymore.
Okay, but your equation wasn't off because remember, if I may, the 7 day a week people who are coming into Charlie and Co. within a few years were getting to $600,000, sometimes $250,000 a year. It's not like the payoff isn't there. So isn't that kind of part of this shift? Is it like, I think a lot of people, and now we're just speaking more culturally, are sort of saying like, there's this idea of like, well, I don't really need $250,000 a year. I'd rather work less and make 100. I'd rather work less and make 90. Now, I would challenge to them like...
You can't prepare for your future with that.
Well, that's what I would argue is like, is that sustainable? Is that approach sustainable? Mm-hmm. Because in my mind, it's like, no, you need to be at 500 if you want to have a great life for multi-generational wealth, if you want to have a family, all those things. But so I'm sort of, what do I say, reading into what you're saying. Is that something you've seen? Is that like, because again, you're a salon where the people who are still with you, which I'm assuming, obviously you still have your core and you still have a banging salon.
Yes,
like,
very much so.
These are some of the stylists who are making the most that you can be making as a stylist in a salon in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And the answer is yes, all of that is true. And within our culture and within our model, it's always been mentorship first. Mm-hmm. So the girls that are my core team, that are the ones training our up and coming assistants, they are still teaching them what they learned from me. So it still is ingrained. It's just whether or not these young girls or guys have what it takes to get through, doing the grind, doing the hard stuff. I've never once see a partner at a law firm become a partner before they were an associate, and being an associate in a law firm is probably arguably one of the worst jobs you could have. You make, $30,000 a year and you work, 90 hours a week.
Or finance, and, same story.
It's like, exactly. But if you make it through that gauntlet, you remember where you came from. And that's where my team is. My team remembers the work that they put in. So they still expect that from the girl that's coming in out of beauty school today. We are hiring more assistants now than ever.
Why is that?
Yeah. We're hiring 4, knowing that we're going to keep 1.
So that's
and not because that's our choice. Within the 90 days, they will weed themselves out. Right. We don't have to fire them. We don't have to lay new ground rules as far as management goes, as far as expectations of what that looks like. It is as quickly as 90 days that they just start to funnel themselves out the door. And right now this year we have found the hire 4, keep 1. And then, right now we're in a place where we hired, 8 in the last 6 months and all 8 are still with us. So we're really grateful for that. But in the past, it's been in the last couple months, it's been, knowing that they were just going to weed themselves out.
Charlie,
go ahead.
I want to hit on this because this is a major topic of importance right now, not just in the salon industry, but in a lot of industries. There are a lot of people who I've spoken with even recently who struggle to get a pipeline of talent, even just to get 4 people to apply. Would you mind sharing just a little bit about how you are funneling applicants in and making those hires in the volume that you are? And I want to, let's start there because I've got a follow-up question to that.
So a lot of other salon owners in Dallas kind of ask us the same thing, and other salon owners from all over the country ask me that. And I don't have a very big social media presence. I'm not the guy that talks to my phone and does all of this. But where I have found that it works really well, we have an amazing partnership with Neil Corp. Neil Corp owns the Aveda beauty schools here in Dallas. And we make ourselves, Charlie and Company makes ourselves readily available at a moment's notice to work in any way, shape, or form with the Aveda Beauty School. We have found that we've always got the best candidates from Aveda. The culture and the commitment to culture that they instill at in the very infancy of this journey and through cosmetology is aligned with us. So it the synergy just works really well. So we have a team that does a career day at the beauty school once a month. And then quarterly, we're there doing career days. We really align ourselves well with Aveda because of their commitment to culture. Right. And I would argue that, in the 50 some odd years that Aveda's been around, nobody has stood the test of time like they have to their commitment to sustainability and culture. So therefore, they're being instilled with that. So when these girls come in from beauty school to Charlie and Company, it kind of feels like home. So that's where it comes from, is our commitment with Aveda. And we'll work with any beauty school. If a beauty school calls us to come, teach a class. The other thing that we do is we host free classes at the salon once a quarter for beauty school students. So if you're a beauty school student, we're going to bring you in, and two of our heavy hitters are going to demo just to look and learn. To a beauty school student, things that we do on a regular daily basis, we're blowing their damn minds. So we'll fill the salon with 25 to 40 beauty school students. And when it comes time to graduate, they remember.
That's super smart.
They remember. Incredible. Yeah.
And so you're not even, you've set up what I think is the ideal situation for yourself. And one thing I think that you're doing really well that you haven't mentioned is your salon's reputation that you've built through your brand and your brand name in this Metroplex. You and I'm 30 minutes from your salon. Right. So I know this area really well. And what you've done with your brand, one, makes you extremely attractive to any person looking to succeed in a career. Just when you go to your website, everything is very consistent across the board, from the website experience, from the social media experience to inside of the salon experience, very cohesive. And you can experience your space and what you can expect on any of the platforms, whether I'm in the salon or out of the salon. I think you've done an amazing job with that. And trust me, I've watched very closely. And then another thing that I think you've done really well is that you've established yourself in a niche of you are the luxury salon, which is something that Jordan said earlier. And I think that is, you've chosen a lane in your business, and that lane, it allows you to differentiate yourself from all other service providers or other salons servicing other demographics. And you can see that in the way that you present yourself online. You can see it in the price points. It's like, I think what you've done is you've made yourself a very attractive place for anyone to work. And you've got people coming from all over the country to work for you and at your salons. That's one thing I think you've done super well that other salons could take note from. Second, a lot of people are refusing to work with, hire, recruit new talent. And you have this open mind. You have this mind of, no, I can cultivate greatness. And you have this confidence that you can do it, where I speak to so many people and they're like, oh, no, I want someone with a full book who's coming in. I want them to bring the business to me. No more newbies. I'm done with that. Right. What about new talent? What about this new talent going to the schools, getting involved? It made you think, that's the route over this other stuff over an existing person with a clientele who can come in, set up chair, and start making me money. I mean, it's a very different mindset. Where'd you develop that mindset, and why is that important to you?
It is. And again, this will kind of piggyback off our previous segment, but within our brand and within our culture provides the ability to want more for somebody than just yourself. I want the most for a girl that's just stepping into the salon on her first week. But more so than the word I, it's now the word we, because right. I'm finding more and more as of lately that I'm really not even a part of this anymore. It's my senior staff. It's Amanda. It's Carly. It's Erica. It's Desiree. The girls that were my assistants 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago now are just following in those footsteps, and they keep giving me a better assistant. So the way that goes, if you didn't listen to the first episode, it's we only hire from beauty school. We do not hire. If you have a full book of business and you want to move to Dallas and bring your full book of business with you, I'm sorry, we're just not the room for you. Does that sound egotistical? Does that sound me pounding my chest? Maybe, but I don't care. We want to eliminate ego, and we have a culture that allows everybody to lift everybody up and be a part of everybody's communal space. That being said, when we hire an assistant, we bring them in their first 30 days is just kind of being the general, and they're doing towels, they're ripping foils, they're, learning how to formulate the color line that we carry, so on and so forth. Then they get teamed up with one specific individual. That individual is their mentor. That person is going to mentor them and work with them for 8 to 12 months. We're trying to fast track this a little bit more to get it to that kind of 8-month mark where we're putting somebody on the floor, because of how much they're learning and how much they're absorbing on a week to week, month by month basis. But some assistants take longer. Some are ready right out of the gate, but you just give them a dose of humble pie and make them earn it. And then right away, you've encapsulated one of the biggest, most truest components to Charlie & Company, and that's loyalty. Loyalty with our clients, loyalty with our team, loyalty with Charlie. And then that hairdresser that is working with that assistant, they are not paying that assistant. I am. My return on that investment after the 8 months to 12 months is getting a hairdresser that is ready to go on the floor, that then is going to have a $100,000 book within the first 18 months of going on the floor. That's mentorship incredible. Was a huge component to me. It was a huge component. It's a huge component in any industry. Yes, we have so much education, so much technical ability at the palm of our hands, but I could be the best hair cutter in the fucking world, and not one person's going to know my name if I'm not the one that knows how to say it first. Really working with young women and young men in this industry, it's really teaching. I can teach you how to cut hair. I can teach you how to color hair, but I have to teach you to be a people person. I have to teach you to be a relationship-driven person. And they witness that and they see that around the salon all day long. So therefore, it's ingrained in their infancy in their career with Charlie & Company.
So again, recognizing these are these principles that you establish, and you told us in our first conversation that you used to have people with their own book. By the way, you had booths, you were renting out suites or booths.
I was renting chairs. Yeah,
you were renting chairs. Excuse me. So this was a shift that you made through a lot of trial and error. It's important people don't remember that. It's not like you just woke up one morning and invented a perfect salon. Like you really figure this out through trial and error, which took time, by the way, as well, which
correct.
Again, it's like if there's a shift that's happening culturally, maybe it's a lack of patience, which is let's play the devil's advocate though. It's a lack of patience, but it's also a reorientation of people's values and interest in their life and in their time. Right. So it's not like they just woke up one day and say, I really want to binge more Netflix. Although I'm sure that's also the case. We live in a highly dopamine culture, but I think it's also, oh my goodness, like I don't want, like I watched my mom or dad or my older sibling or my Gen Z cousin, work 90 hours a week in New York City in the financial industry. And I just don't want that life. And to be fair, I never wanted the 90-hour financial work life. I never wanted to work in the law firm. That's why I work in film, because it's interesting and dynamic and I can set my own hours or whatever. So there's something to be said for why people have this premium that they're putting on their life and on their time. But of course, as you're saying, like there's still a price to pay for the experience you're going to get to the revenue that you're going to experience here at Charlie & Co. But again, just thinking about what I know our audience will be curious about is just like, hey man, how's it going? Like what's happening in now? How do you think about next year? So one of the things we talked about before was Charlie as an instinctual business owner. And again, like you did, back of napkin math, you said, I'm not good with numbers. You talked about your CFO that helps you be good with numbers.
Yep.
When we look at 2024 and when it feels like, who knows what's going to happen in 2024, but it's not necessarily going to be great, right? There's this feeling of like, get ready. How do you, as an instinctual business owner, but who also has a team that sort of fills in that number side, how are you looking at 2024? How are you feeling about the future? And what are you doing to sort of balance instinct and maybe like the sort of the more the planning numbers side of that business ownership?
Growth. Everything that this uncertainty, this living, kind of not sure. I can't wait to keep growing. Salons, we're not going anywhere. As of today, Elon has not created a Charlie to stand behind the chair and do my job. So for today,
right.
I am very employable.
Yeah.
So as long as I am employable and as long as I still have, then I'm always going to be rooting for growth. I'm always going to want, we're going to have a salon within a hotel brand. It's always been my dream. It's always been my dream to align myself with hospitality because I find that we are in the hospitality world. We are in the relationship business. And we've been really taking really fun, big meetings, big boardroom meetings. And I get to walk in my white t-shirt and jeans and everybody's like, that's the guy? Yeah, that's the guy. And we're excited about that. We're excited about new opportunity for growth. The team that I have is excited about growth. They're ready for something. The more I stay still, the worse things are. So the more I'm reinventing and the more I'm doing. And, for me, this is my financial freedom. My growth is, I would much rather put my money on me than put it on somebody else. Mm-hmm. So this next chapter, this next door, this next operation agreement will be one that will allow us to grow organically as a culture, as a team. It's staying in Texas. And, we just want to be that Texas brand, that the front and center when you're visiting Texas, you have to make a visit to Charlie & Company.
Please tell me you're targeting the drover.
You know what? We went down the rabbit hole. We went down the rabbit hole with the drover in their infancy, but they were developing that over COVID. Yeah. And we were working with a proper hotel in Austin as well. And man, we were rounding third and COVID hits. And I mean, nobody knew.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what the hell was going to happen to the hotel industry. Yeah. Were these places even going to exist?
Yeah.
So no, but gosh, that Drover property is so fun.
It's amazing.
It's such a great. It's a hotel in the stockyards of Fort Worth, Texas, and the stockyards are exactly the way they sound. You can still drive down. You can find a Rolls Royce and a horse carriage riding into an amphitheater. But it just built this magnificent hotel in Fort Worth in the stockyards called the Drover. But no, we're working with a national brand, a national flag. Oh. But then again, when you deal with big business and you deal with that type of infrastructure, I mean, this just in, money's very expensive right now. Nobody's lending.
Tell me about it.
Nobody's lining up to build the new 74-story hotel in downtown Dallas on the most expensive block. So it's been fun aligning ourselves with the people that are securing those lines of credit, that type of funding, because those are the people that you want to get into bed with. But Dallas and Texas in general just continues to roar. The bottom's going to fall out. The bottom has got to fall out at some point. At some point, it's kind of getting a little scary. The mass exodus of California to Texas 2 years ago, we saw that, trying to get your kid into private school. It's like, you can't build enough schools. You can't build enough hospitality. You can't build enough anything in Texas right now. Yeah. So when you ask about what this year looks like, I'd be foolish to say that it doesn't endure a lot of growth for Charlie and Company.
Thank you for letting us in on this next chapter. Obviously, keeping all your confidentialities in check, but just to know that you're exploring new territories, I think really exciting. Because
Jordan, before you jump into this question, please. I have to pee so bad.
God, how dare
I just want to interrupt you and tell you guys
to do that on a podcast.
I'm going to go pee.
He's going to shittily quietly.
Yeah.
Please do, Cash.
I'll be right back
when you return.
Keep talking.
The question is going to be I won't spoil it, but that's so funny. What's your kid's name?
Jules. Jules Martin.
Name. Did you get that from Jules Verne?
Martin. No, I mean, it first came to me, whenever I watched Pulp Fiction. Samuel L. Jackson's character was Jules. And my wife and I loved Julian. But we wanted to name him Julian to be safe, like male name, Julian,
right.
But when we met him, it was just, no, he's just Jules. He's just Jules.
That's cool. That's a great name.
Jules Martin. Yeah, he's a blast. He's 15 months now. Yeah.
Wow. Dude, congratulations.
Time flies. It's been a blast.
Yeah.
It's been a blast.
I'm at that life stage where I'm thinking a lot more about kids, and I'm obviously trying to be smart about being able to afford kids, because the scrappy indie film lifestyle does not really leave room for that. So I have to sort of get my act together. But what I will say is I'm excited. I'm excited to be a parent. I want it.
It's pretty extraordinary. It's something that I really never saw for myself. I've never thought were in my cards, but it wasn't until I met my wife, and this woman was just going to be the most incredible mother. Mm-hmm. And behind any great father is an even better mother.
100%. 100%.
So, as much of a blast and just complete joy that baby brings me, I know the true reason that joy lives. It's because I have the most incredible, mother in my life. So yeah, my wife's a rock star, and it's so fun coming home from a long day at the salon, and that little guy just gets so amped to see you. It's like everything just disappears for those.
It's unfair, by the way.
3 seconds.
You get to be like the thing that shows up at the end of the day, and like excitement. And she's sitting there just being like,
yep. She's just handing me that baby. I'm done.
Dude, that is great.
I'm done. Yeah, I thought I worked hard. I thought I worked hard until I witnessed a stay-at-home mom. And it's just like, my God, I'll line up for my 26 clients a day in a heartbeat.
Yeah, because they can bathe themselves.
Exactly.
They're at least in theory not nearly as needy.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Cash, we were just talking about Charlie's son, Jules.
Jules, 15 months old now.
Jules, 15 months, man.
Well,
it's a blast.
Really? Did you take him with you to Spain?
Yeah. No, this was just a mom and dad trip. And to share my excitement on my emphasis when I said no, we did not take him with us. It was, we went on 2 trips since we've had the baby. Just my wife and I. We went to Vegas for a long weekend, and we went to Carmel. We went out to Pebble Beach for a long weekend. Both endured my wife pouring the 3rd glass of wine and looking at baby pictures and changing our flight to leave a day early to make sure that we were home.
Wow.
So to know that we got away with almost 2 weeks being in Europe was a feat. We missed him every day, but it was awesome. It was great.
That's
just
great.
The 2 of us. We did take him to Italy in May, and that was just game changer. I mean, he was 9 months at the time. He'll never remember a day in his life,
Yeah.
but Mom and I will never forget it.
That's
It must have been
incredible.
surreal just to be in some of the most beautiful places in the world with this little unit of life with you.
Absolutely incredible. It was absolutely incredible.
Was there a reason you picked Spain?
We had a wedding to go to. We've always wanted to do Mallorca and Ibiza, but we didn't want to do it during high season. We didn't want to do it during summertime where everybody and their mothers is, electro sliding through the islands. So we were planning to go, and a wedding popped up in Barcelona. So we went to the wedding and then spent time on the islands afterwards. So it's amazing. Perfect caveat.
It's one of my favorite places in the world. I go every year with my wife. Took my son for the first time this year. We go for just under a month every summer. Okay. And we go and run with the bulls. And
so you're in Madrid.
We are. So we actually do it in a town called Pamplona, about 4 hours north of Madrid. And there's 50 bull runs in the area. All these little very small towns. These are hundreds and hundreds of year old tradition. But we go every year. And when I heard you were in Spain, I was like, I love it over there. It's incredible. It's a
special place.
It is.
It's a special.
Think you'd ever take your business international? Do you think you'd ever go to Europe?
No.
Don't spoil it.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't even, and I wouldn't even take it out of Texas. Number one, I have everything I can handle and endure right here. I still own 100% of my business. And to be perfectly honest, to take somebody's capital to buy shares of me out, I don't want to work that hard for somebody else.
Yeah.
And, it sounds great. New York, LA, Chicago, Miami, Dubai, whatever. Yeah. I'm good. I don't want to work that hard.
That's amazing.
I want to hit on this expansion that you're doing with hospitality. So again, I think for a lot of our listeners, there are a good number of them who have a business and they want to grow that business and they want to scale. And for that, a lot of them, it means new locations. That's something you've done, obviously, successfully. And you're talking about another version of that, obviously, which is a business partnership in hospitality. Who do you call when you're entering new territory like this, when you want to make sure you're making a deal with a mammoth company that has better lawyers, bigger lawyers, better deals, better strategy, more money, more everything. So when you're swimming with the sharks, who do you call to make sure that you're making wise decisions for your business?
Well, the first place I go and look in the mirror. There's only one There's only one Charlie. So if you want a hair salon in your 5-star hotel in Dallas, Texas, there's only one person that you would put in it. And anybody else would just be, a downgrade. That doesn't come from a...
You hear that,
confidence
people?
Much?
Yeah. Establish authority and shout it from the rooftops.
That doesn't come from a place. That doesn't come from ego.
No,
there is truly no other service provider that can operate a hair salon in Dallas, Texas, like I can. And I'm very confident of that. And that's what I've learned about myself along the way. I used to look at myself as just a hairdresser. I just cut hair. I just cut hair. I'm just the help. But as I've grown and as my confidence has grown let me back up there. I used to say those things about myself because I don't have a high school diploma, because I never went to college, because I was a drug addict and living on the streets, and I was homeless at one point, and I sat in a jail cell for 2 years. That's you can find some commonality on why you might degrade yourself a little bit with summing it up. But I've also learned the value of my name and the value of what we do and the value of what hairdressers do. I have a slew of people that are in my life as friends, advisors, employees that I lean on for help in navigating those waters. But the first one that I really have to check in with is the guy looking in the mirror. And that would be the hardest part, Because when it comes to expanding, when it comes to growth, when it comes to finding these people, I've been very fortunate. I've never had to take somebody else's capital to continue to grow my brand. But that doesn't mean that I don't have hundreds of offers a year. A lot of people spend, so much time in their lives trying to figure out how they can get the next person to fund their next round. Me, I could make 2 phone calls right now and I could do whatever I wanted. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's up to me. And I like having the ball in my court. Book I read, story I followed. I was living in New York City during the time when Shake Shack came. Yeah, when Danny started Shake Shack. And, Danny's background at that time, he had 11 Madison Park. And 11 Madison Park was just,
They had some incredible restaurants. They had some really incredible restaurants. The Nomad was one of my favorites up by the Ace Hotel.
Incredible.
Yeah, very good.
But during that time, there was a gentleman named Will Guarda that worked for Danny and was Danny's maitre d', started a maitre d' at EMP. And long story short, Will now owns 11 Madison Park. And Will wrote a book recently called Unreasonable Hospitality. And that book, knowing Will's story, being in his places, being in his presence, not knowing him personally, shed a lot of light on the reasons why I want to get into hotel and the synergy between restaurant, between culture, between hotel, between gym, bringing everything and everybody together. That sense of community thrives under one roof. And so again, Will Guarda's book, Unreasonable Hospitality, was a huge tool and component for me too in that realm.
That's such a great answer, because anyone can, the fact that you would be making this massive business decision and that you would lean on, at least in part, a book that anyone can buy for $15, and the fact that you can get insight and inspiration, I think that's encouraging to consider. Is like, hey man, people have done this. People have walked these paths. These models have been figured out. You can get insight from the best. And I mean, again, just so people understand, major food groups, Danny Meyer and Shake Shack, these are some of the most successful restaurateurs in America. Sure. So the fact that someone in that universe can provide insight to Charlie when Charlie's making a decision in his business, and that you can not only have confidence in yourself, but also to gain that wisdom. It's like anyone can sit down and do that. Cash, you were going to say?
Yeah. No, I was just agreeing with all of that 100%. I remember.
Cash, have you read it?
I haven't read it, no, but I've been a fan of 11 Madison Park as restaurateurs because of the what they've done. Some of the restaurants in New York, my favorite restaurants. So when I was with some clients at the time and was able to get a table at Nomad, and it became one of my favorites. And when I walked in, they had booked me a private tour of the kitchen, and given me the history behind the inspiration behind the food and the environment and every detail of the place. And it just made me fall in love with it. And you could immediately tell there was a culture there. The staff was incredible. And I'd never really been to a restaurant that, would, at the time, that did things like that. So if you're saying these people wrote a book, 11 Madison Park.
Let me reference it again. It's not a book. It's my Bible. Unreasonable Hospitality has turned into my Bible in the sense of where we align ourselves in the service industry. It's a mind blower. It's a game changer. It's a life changer. Everybody in the salon, every employee, every stylist, every person got one, and we live by it now.
That's incredible. We have a book. We have a book called Never Split the Difference that we made in one of my businesses. It's a negotiating role, and in that department, everyone has to read that book. And there's certain books that become Bibles in your company. Are there any other books that have become sort of Bibles in your business?
In my business, I went down a rabbit hole with traction.
Yeah. EOS.
Yeah, and that was really good in aligning vision, especially when I'm working with operating partners and people that have worked and grown with me, where then I want to open a salon and give it to them and have them operate it, and aligning your vision to tread the same way the tires do. Man, there's been, I mean, every book I read, whether it's a novel, whether it's nonfiction, whether it's fiction, I can usually pull something out of it that I'm bringing back. I think it just has to do with just my elusiveness. I'm very conscious of things are ever changing, and I need to ever be changing, and so I'm aware. So I wouldn't say, I think as long as my eyes are open, I'm learning something from somewhere. So I would be, but Unreasonable Hospitality was the true, like, just holy shit.
Can I poke on one thing that I'm curious about, which is, Charlie, earlier you said, understandably based on the description that you made, that, there's a real risk that is occurring when someone decides they're going to take their business on the road and build this sort of like town to town traveling hairstylist concept. Again, some people have been very successful doing that, but it's a particular kind of model that weighs upon the repeat customer relationship dynamic that you have learned is so important. So, at your own risk would be your advice to people who are pursuing that, take it cautiously. But if you're in a hotel, if you're putting a hair salon in a hotel, by definition, some of your clientele, at least, or a large part, might be a transient clientele. Is that true? Is that what you would expect? People who are coming in from out of town, or is it locals who just happen to be getting their hair serviced at that property?
Good question. But let me reference back to the hairdresser that is freelance, the hairdresser that is doing house calls, the hairdresser. There's so many caveats to this business. I mean, there's so many ways that we can make money and enjoy what we do. Mm-hmm. Not one way is right. Not one way is wrong. I'm referencing myself because I'm a behind the chair hairdresser. I don't do set work anymore. I don't do freelance work anymore. Right. I don't do house calls. And so referencing in that, just wanted to be clear, that is not an opinion. That is the truth. There's just so many caveats to this business that are just so extraordinary. And that's the best part about this damn job is, today I can be cutting hair, in Dallas in one of my salons, and tomorrow I could be doing it on the beach in Bali if I want to. Right. But with the hotel experience, number one, especially when you're talking about a national brand, 5-star luxury, $800 to $1,200 a key per room type of environment. The woman that is coming to Dallas, Texas, and she is purchasing a room there, and she is staying in that room, and she has a meeting, she's meeting with this, she's doing whatever she's doing. She has a hairdresser wherever she came from. Her hairdresser's in Beverly Hills. Her hairdresser's in Toronto, Canada. Her hairdresser's in Miami. I'm not trying to fulfill the need of servicing that person and maintaining them as a loyal client as much as I'm trying to maintain and develop the relationship with the hotel, that all of a sudden we become an amenity to the guest, where the guest experience is better because there's a hair salon there. Instead of them having to outfit every hotel room with Dyson blow dryers, we have a salon that can accommodate a blow dry at any moment in time. For us, it gives us the brick and mortar location of a multi-billion-dollar company platform that we would never have without that. And it just aligns us perpendicularly with the brand synergy that we would expect and that our clients, our existing clientele would expect. So it does a little bit of both, but it's really not divulged. Now, if it were to take place in Austin, we would have to look at the model a little bit differently. Right. Because Austin is, I think Nashville had it one time in the last 7 years, but, in the last 7 years, I think the number's like 20 million girls come to Austin every year for bachelorette parties. What? It is just the bachelorette mecca. Right. I don't know what the hell it is. So then you're looking at that being a little bit different, a little bit more transient. But it's really just to maintain a location that is far suitable for our brand.
That is so smart.
I think what's also smart is brand alignment.
I'm going to make, brand alignment, and I'm going to make somebody else pay for it.
Yeah.
OPM, smart. Other people's money.
That's right.
You pay for it. I'll put my name on it.
I want people to I just think that that's worth thinking about for a second. Like when you go to bed at night, you think about this business you're trying to build. It's like, if you set your sights high enough, if you're building a business that you're truly proud of, if you're thinking as big as you can, we do a masterclass that's just about how to raise your prices and how to raise your prices beyond a level you ever thought you could. And by the way, Charlie, we talk a lot about the booking principles that we discussed in the last episode, which is, you need to be booked, and then you have to raise your prices and fire clientele. That's a whole conversation we had in the last episode that I won't revisit here, but it's like, think bigger, think about where you could be, think about the brands you could be associated with, because for every Charlie in Dallas, there is an equivalency in other markets that are either up and coming or that are premium, whether it's around the world, whether it's in the United States. And I think that it's not for everyone. Not everyone needs to have that particularly be their goal. But the idea, especially that as a hairstylist, that's the room you can walk into, that those are the conversations you can have. And again, it's not because you went out and got a bunch of private equity to start your salon and do something special. You just created a damn good salon. And this is where it's gotten you.
Correct. And, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But right now we're aligning ourselves with the perfect counterbalance that we haven't had to explore that yet. But at the same time, again, I'll go back to what I alluded to earlier. I enjoy owning 100% of my company.
Yeah,
period.
That's great. Are you ever going to license your name?
Possibly. We would need 2 to 3 more doors, and we would need at least 8 to 12 SKUs of something tangible to sell. But yes, those are all things that we're exploring and we're doing.
I love that.
And looking forward to. Yeah.
There are so many verticals you can expand into as a hairdresser, which is why we say here at the Millionaire Hairstylist, hairstylists are uniquely positioned for massive financial success through doing what they love, because they have so many options. You're a firefighter. How many other parallels or how many other verticals can you take that skill into? You're a firefighter, right? That's that.
Correct.
CPA, right? There's maybe a few things you could go. Lawyer, maybe you go politics. There's a couple of things you can do. And with hairstyling, it's like you can be an entrepreneur, you can do salons, you can rent real estate out, you can build a product line, you can build a media brand. Like it's seemingly infinite, the options, and it's all through just doing what you love. I think it's incredibly powerful to watch you building these businesses and thinking bigger than so many people think. You're thinking beyond where so many people think they can go. And what I hope people get and hear from this is that there really is no limit here to what hairstylists can do. It's incredible.
That's just one of the best things about our business is, even just think of your career, Cash. God, you've done so much. You do so much. And there's no end. It ends whenever you say, you know what, I'm done with it. That's it. That's when I'm done. Not when somebody else says you're done. Because there's always a different avenue. There's always a different gig. There's always something else that can be manifested from where you were 5 years ago to where you're at today to where you're going to be 5 years from today.
Absolutely. I love that. Charlie, I want to be mindful of your time, so we'll let you go. I have only one more question, which is promise you'll come back in 2 years and let's do this again.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it like every 2 years.
That was a sad ask. 2 years?
Sorry, I need to think things. Come back in 2 months.
Yeah, there you go.
We just got to constantly, keep my feet to the fire. Make sure I'm holding up my bargain too. So I would love that, guys. Like I said, I love being a part of this. I love being a part of your community. To any of your listeners and any of your community, by all means, you know where to reach me at Hair by Charlie and Co Salons. I'm always available. I always love the banter. So slide into DMs, email, get in touch.
You heard it from the man himself.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate both of you.
Thanks, Charlie. We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Looking forward to it.
Bye.
If you're a hairstylist, if you're a creative professional, and you are interested in your financial well-being, remember to like and subscribe so that more episodes just like this one show up in your YouTube feed.